Welcome back to the Horror House. Tonight, we're going to be covering a very interesting and disgusting body horror movie called The SuperDeep. It is a 2020 Russian horror movie based on the real-life SuperDeep borehole. It's a Russian film, but they filmed it speaking English. Directed by Arseny Suhin. Now, this movie focuses on a group of researchers and soldiers, Russian soldiers, of course, investigating a mysterious disease outbreak at a secret base underground at this borehole facility. Now, what kind of disease? Is a fungal disease. Now, think like athlete's foot, but the entire body, and a lot worse. Just a little bit worse. You know, no cream can cure this disease. Now, this movie is great. I love this movie. It's made on the cheap, only $2 million, but it doesn't feel like a $2 million horror movie. It's mainly all practical effect because of the budget. It's a creature feature. Who doesn't love creatures? And it builds up to reveal a giant, big, disgusting monster that's all practical effects. Think like The Thing, but Russian. When you look up the reviews for this movie, you're gonna see a lot of 1-star reviews, which is insane, because this movie is great, okay? Don't pay attention to reviewers. They don't know what the hell they're talking about most of the time, all right? Now, we're gonna explore this movie. We got a couple clips from this movie that we're gonna be taking a look at. We're going through this, and by the end of it, maybe, you can check it out on Shudder. Let me set the scene for you guys. It's 1984, all right? Centers around Anya, or they call her Anna Fedorova, who's a Russian epidemiologist. Great strong character, reminds me of Ripley from Aliens and RJ McReady from The Thing. Opens up with a vaccine trial for something. I think it's like some type of disease. It's all black and white, so it's very somber. And she injects her co-worker with this vaccine because he's all looking all messed up and there's like blood squirting out of him and he's all pussy, and he dies. She blames herself that she should have been the one to have done the vaccine on herself, because now her heart's broken and she wants to resign.
Anna Fyodorova, head of research of MX-23 project, have approved human tests of the vaccine, deliberately skipping preliminary tests.
But she is forced not to resign because they need her to overcome this, because she is an extremely smart person and the only one that can do the job. And they need her to make the vaccine work, or else everything she's done would be in vain, pretty much.
Remember, the ends justify the means. And if you succeed, you'll justify everything that happened here.
There's one thing to take away from this scene, is that artery squirts are pretty metal. Gotta say that. Oh! Now let's fast forward a little bit. She is celebrating New Year's Eve with her family and friends because she created a vaccine very fast. The death of her friend, I'm still not sure what the vaccine was for, but the death of her friend really boosted her morale to get this thing done because she didn't want to see any more people die. So boom, her smarts kick in, she makes this vaccine and they're celebrating, and the world is saved from whatever epidemic might have been going on in this movie. Now, she's enjoying a good time with her friends when she receives a phone call from the colonel, the daddy that we saw in that scene. Now, they must leave shortly for the Kola borehole, which is an actual real place. So they use a real location in this movie, which is kind of cool, I think. But they must go because they have heard unknown sounds coming from deep beneath the surface of this ice. And 20 people have gone missing. It's a mystery what happened to them, but you know, it's not good. And I just gotta go there and retrieve samples. But samples of what? That's the mystery. She's not too sure. She's going in blind because the colonel said so. And when the Russian government asks you to do something, you gotta do it, or else you'd be disappearing yourself. So Major Sergei Makiev, he's the leader of the expedition, and they fly down in a helicopter. Land and see some weird scientists walking towards them. They can see the scientists there, kind of like trying to hide, sneaking by. You know, something's off about him. He's looking a little drunk, a little twitchy. And the military screams at him, "Watch out! Open fire!" And they just start popping caps into the scientist. It makes you think, what's happening? He falls to the ground, he doesn't die. He gets back up and he's holding a grenade in his hand. And then he blows himself up. Oh shit! Right near the helicopter. Luckily, the helicopter and the passengers on the helicopter were fine. Why did he blow himself up? We find out later on why. Now, Anna takes samples from the corpse and finds something interesting in the blood. It's glowing and shit. There's Colonel Daddy. And you see the glowing in her eyes from the corpse. So I do kind of wish that this movie was filmed in its native language, like Russian. Because sometimes I feel like when you're watching a character speak in this movie, it almost seems like it's voiced over, but it's not voiced over. Because you can see they're articulating the words, but I think some parts they re-voiced over in post a little bit. And sometimes it throws you off. You're like, whoa, wait a second. That's just one of the gripes I have with the movie, but it's just a small one. Now, I'm sure that Dr. Dude meant no harm, you know, crazed look in his eye, and he had a grenade in his hand. But let's be happy that he wasn't holding his penis, because that would be extra terrifying or erotic. They don't have the budget for the erotic in this movie. So we go and Anna finds out that she has been lied to this whole time. It's not really a disease, and the lower levels are like hell with what they found deep within this borehole. Deep in the borehole. Now we meet the head of research of the facility, Dr. Grigoriev. We're gonna call him Dr. G. The doctor is hiding something, and he doesn't want them to know what it is. Now he wants guarantees that the employees on the second level, there's 2 of them, I believe, be rescued, and that's it. Now the doctor is kind of like an evil guy, kind of in a way, so it seems, and he changes the elevator code. Now, if you enter the elevator code 3 times wrong, then the elevator will drop. It's kind of like a safety measure, right? Killing everybody on board. Now, they descend down the elevator. Elevator's brakes don't respond, but they're able to override the brakes. Dr. G depressurizes the cabin, knocking everybody out unconscious, except for himself because he had an O2 mask, and he was fine, and he escapes. He pressurizes. Which eventually knocks everybody out. The music in this movie, the score is really good. It's so good. And the visuals aren't bad either. Yeah, this Dr. G guy though, you get a feeling that you can't really trust him. But as you watch through the movie, you're kind of like, oh, I could kind of be on his side. Now, let's get to the facility. The facility, shall we? So Dr. G is long gone. They wake up and they're all like, oh, what the hell happened? They get orders that they gotta go find the doctor and see what else is down in this facility place. So they search the facility. They find 2 people, engineer Nikolay and Dr. Kira, who is the doctor, obviously. Now, they test them to make sure that they're not infected with whatever might be going on down here. The tests, though, they come back negative. So that's good for them. You don't want to be infected by whatever the hell this shit is, right? Now, Anna, the main character girl, she finds Dr. G, and Dr. G asks Anna to evacuate everybody, you know? He's trying to protect them from what's really down here. And he doesn't want what's down here to fall into the wrong hands, let's say, of the Russian government, which kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, Dr. G, I get you. I'm with you there. Now, he has the key to the other elevator, or I should say, he has a key card to the elevators. She's trying to talk with them, like, give us the elevator, let's go down, search for more people. We've got to find those missing 20 people. But of course, he's not going to give her the key card at all. So Anna calls over everybody, the doctor is here, blah, blah, blah. The doctor gets shot. He's injured and flees down the second shaft into the lower level of the facility. And Dr. G sealed off the other side. You know, welded these giant steel doors shut, keeping something in or keeping people out. Possibly both. Of course, soldiers must search for more people and find a way, you know, get down to Dr. G, unaware of what's actually going on. So they get the door open, but the soldiers have to put on these temperature suits because it's like 200 degrees in these halls, and anywhere outside these facilities, it's like 200 degrees. So they gotta wear these temperature suits to descend the halls. Now, before they go through, the doors open from the inside, and a lone girl walks out with no suit on. So the question is, how does she survive? You know, she's taken back because tests run on her. The next scene is kind of disgusting. It's pussy, but it's kind of adorable body horror a little bit. Her name is Olga, and she's got a bit of a fever. Something isn't right with her. Now, her back is just riddled in what it looks like to be mold. Who's ready for some deliciousness? there might be something wrong with you. I don't know. I have this feeling that maybe there might be just a little, just a itsy bitsy bit wrong with you. I don't know. I'm just looking here and your back looks fucked up. And who's hungry after watching that? You guys want some mushrooms maybe? It's a pretty great grotesque scene. Like, it's showing a little of what's to come in this movie. There's a lot of come in this movie. And what's to come, I don't know if you're ready. Now they need to understand how she survived the heat, because no human could walk all the way from the bottom through 200 degrees heat without one of those suits. So what's going on? Well, they find out that whatever this stuff is growing at an accelerated rate. It's kind of insane. And it's nothing they've ever seen. It's unknown to science. Now, if I see that, I ain't going near that. I'm wanting out of that facility.
Does it hurt?
Red flag right there. You find something that's unknown to science, you kind of just like maybe want to leave that. Olga, just kind of being sketchy. She's kind of like leaking from her eyes at this point. I don't know if it's like fungal pus or she's just like extremely horny. I'm not too sure. And she starts to glow red a little bit, kind of like shiny. I'm not staying in that room with her by myself. Olga shows signs of a fever. Something is not right with this girl at all. You could probably tell that from her back. So Anna checks on her. She keeps saying that she's cold. The mold is kind of like a hive mind, right? Who's ever infected is kind of taken over, and the mold is the one that's cold, not her. Very much kind of like the thing. Anna cannot do this alone, so she runs to get help, leaving Olga with Dr. Kira. Of course, this is all building up. Shit's about to hit the fan, and things are gonna happen and go everywhere, and people are gonna be fungal to death eventually. Kira's watching some freaky shit go down, right? Olga's not acting right. Olga's fingers are like bending and breaking and stuff, and Kira's just standing there like, what the hell's happening? Kind of frightened. And then Olga starts acting a bit crazy, running at the glass, trying to break it. Olga's out of control. Here's some fucking Adderall. I don't know. Fun fact about that hand scene. The actress actually was able to break her own fingers for that scene while filming it. You know, dedication at its finest. So let's give her a hand. Okay. It wasn't a real hand. It's all practical effects. It's a rubber hand, okay? Hats off to the practical effects team who actually pulled that off. Pretty neat. I could literally feel my fingers snapping. Dr. G explodes the facility pressure pumps, causing the facility to collapse within 1 hour. Boom! Time limit added to an already terrible situation, right? Now at this time, Anna and Major are out of the med lab. You know, they left Olga with Dr. Kira. Now with that time away, Kira got infected and Olga broke out of the glass because you saw her running headfirst at it. But you know, she didn't get very far. They returned to find Olga half melted into the floor. Now they see the fungus is growing. Olga has spore bubbles all over her now, and that is releasing spore. She's still alive.
Jesus, she's still alive.
Like that. I just said that, sir. Mmm, delicious. Look at all that.
It's Olga. She escaped.
Spraying all this shit, and it affects the Major. Daddy Major. Oh no. It's kind of sad, actually. Anna, though, is luckily able to escape and get a gas mask so she doesn't get infected. Now, the whole room is filled up with this contaminated pore shit. And Anna finds Kira, who is severely infected now, and she gets attacked by Kira. Run, bitch! That's delicious. Who wants some fungus ribs? It doesn't show too much in the scene. Like, everything looks good, but it doesn't show too much. It's great camera work, Great use of practical effects. Great use of lighting. Now, Anna does figure that the help with the spores and everything, that she uses a fire extinguisher, which is cold, and they find out that the mold cannot last in the cold. Now, she tells the colonel, you know, the permafrost around the facility is keeping this mold from spreading. Now, if it was in a hot climate, it probably already taken over the world, actually. So it needs a host body to keep warm and warm weather to spread. Almost like, kind of like the thing, you know, it hijacks the body and then it tries to get out to spread its thing, right? It's like a consciousness inside this fungus, which is a neat idea. You kind of think of like The Last of Us fungus monsters, but those are more fungus zombies. This thing is like a whole hive mind trying to spread its shit. A group of soldiers, they decide to head into the shaft because they can't stay there. So they make sure it's clear. Anna and everyone else was to follow these soldiers into the shaft once it was cleared and safe. Now the soldiers disappear into the darkness, and then we see a red glow in the shaft above them where they entered. As they're going down this hallway, you'll see a red shimmer, which is the fungus knowing where they are now. Now the whole hallway is infected. Major, he's now infected because he took that giant load to the face. The pus load to the face, or I guess fungus load. Fungus bukkake. Yes, he got fungus bukkakeed. And he is slowly degenerating. He looks a little sick, just a little sickly. They're about to follow when gunfire is heard. Screams in the distance. People sound like they're dying. Soldiers saying over the radio, "We're under attack! Don't open the doors! Do not come in." Not even for them. Now, two soldiers, of course, they return.
Who are you shooting at? I don't know. Something big. Emptied the whole mag.
Oh, it's big, all right. Like his grisly voice.
We don't have the elevator key.
Could be my daddy. They find out that these weapons have no effect on this creature that they found down the shaft. Nothing. A third soldier returns. He's missing an arm. He's kind of like gobbling like, "Oh my God, I've seen some shit, man." And he kills himself because he doesn't want to become whatever the hell they found in the tunnel. I don't blame him. I mean, once you see this thing, know what I can do. Not a fan of it, really. Now, it keeps building up and up and up of what this true form might kind of look like. Screams of 1,000 corpses from behind the wall. It's big. It's strong. And it wants in. The plot must advance, therefore the doors must come down. So things aren't going these people's way at all, right? The tunnel is blocked. A giant mutation thing knows where they are now, which is not good. It's just not good news. Just not good news, you know? Me thinks you should probably have kept the door closed. After all the warning signs that said, "Hey, do not open, death inside, hell awaits," and the warning of Dr. G, who's been trying to tell him, "Hey, not a good idea." So luckily though, they're able to get the other elevator working so they can descend and chase the doctor because they need to get him to get the elevator key so they can like get out of there, right? Because they only have an hour because the pressure pumps that Dr. G destroyed are going to collapse the whole facility. So the plan, since they have no key card, is to drop the elevator down and pray that the emergency brakes kick in and they descend all the way down to the bottom. That's a great plan, I think. So the thing is broken. They're still fiddling with the elevator, trying to get into work. Right, and this thing has broken through the doors. This wailing creature, wailing Jennings, as someone said in chat, right? So two soldiers stay behind to fight off whatever is chasing them. Now, you don't see what it is. You're kind of left in suspense, but it pays off in the end. One of them being the major, the one who got bukkakeed in the face by the fungus. You hear wails and yells of this creature, and they're trying to buy time, right? So like, ta-da-da, shooting at this thing. You don't really see it. But Anna, Nikolai, Peter, and the colonel hop into the elevator this time and they go down and make it to a lower level. So they're in the lower level now, all right? And they're searching. It's really cold down there. And they find a wall of melted people. So those people that went missing, 20 people went missing at this facility. Well, they found these people and they're melted in this giant canvas, think like a wall of flesh. We have a wall of flesh somewhere around here still. And it's keeping this mold with this flesh warm, insulated. Now, Dr. G, he still had the elevator key, and he took it with him into this 200-degree chasm. Now, this chasm is where they found this mold entity. Now, the colonel sets off without a suit because all the suits were sabotaged by this doctor. Doctor is trying to keep everyone down there so they can't escape and potentially spread this mold and destroy the entire world, pretty much. Now, I wouldn't call this doctor evil, and he just doesn't want this fungus to spread and destroy humanity. So you can kind of see his perspective, like, hey, makes sense. Now, the Colonel has gone a long time, and sadly, doesn't return. Colonel Daddy is no longer with us. It kind of hurts the heart a little bit, doesn't it? Now, it's up to Anna to go into this 200-degree chasm where the organism lives, risk potential infection, to get the key, because without the key, they're not going to get out of there. Now, they find the Colonel dead with the key in his hands, clutched. Ugh. And she makes it back, though. But she's, like, burned, and she's, like, hurting, and she's all red, and she's like, it burned so much, my eyes. I like her character in this movie. She's a great, strong female character. Peter, he's the guy with the 70s porn stash. Remember? I told him you can't trust people with 70s porn stashes. Well, he forces them, the two other people, her and Nikolai, at gunpoint to give him the elevator key because he wants to return to the surface. He doesn't want to die down there. He wants to become famous for discovering this mold, thinking that, hey, I can control this. It's not going to get out of hand. Do not worry. You know, that's never a good sign. He thinks he's going to handle the fungus with ease, so he shoots Nikolai in the leg because they're having a little tussle back and forth, and to show his dominance, he shoots him in the leg. So he takes a key card from them, and they all go up to the floor. And he kind of uses them in a way because he pushes Anna first to go first because there's the monster on the other floor. She goes first. Tension's building, you know, being used as bait kind of. And Porn Stash Man is kind of following behind her because he wants to make it out alive. She sees a gun laying in the elevator where they came in. So she walks up to it. She thinks that, hey, I get this gun, I can make a quick move and shoot the porn stash dude in the face, and then we can get out of here. But no, he is right behind her, tells her to drop the weapon, you know, toss the gun, but something comes from behind him and attacks him. This is where we get a glimpse of what that creature, the Wailing Jennings creature, looks like. There it is. Is a bunch of people fused together, molded by this fungus, this consciousness, all in one organism. But I believe the people are still kind of like alive in this thing, and they're just like, well, we're fucked. Screaming, infected people, all in one organism. The arms and heads are all like, help me. Now, the use of lighting and the camera tricks makes this creature look really good. Anna escapes the beast, hides in a freezer because, you know, this creature, the mold, can't detect cold people pretty much, right? Now she comes out, she dumps like a giant bucket of water on her, you know, she like takes her shirt off and pants and stuff, and she jumps this like ice bucket on her and she gets so cold, and she sneaks out, still cold, not being detected by this creature, grabs the key and makes it back to the elevator with Nikolai. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. If you're gonna die, you might as well like go out drunk. You absolutely love movies like this, but I never liked horror movies until recently. Ooh, fresh blood, I love it. She's encountered this giant monster, almost like the fungus, like what the fungus would look like as a host body. Look at that, so good. So remember the porn stash guy, right? He's now part of this thing. Oh, it's so good. It's so creepy. I love it. Oh, shit. Run! Look at that. Oh, so good. Get to the elevator now! All right, now, there's no boobs in this. I'm sorry, guys and gals. I don't know what to tell you. I know it's sad, but still. It's still a good scene. No boobs though, but you have to live with that. They get into the elevator and Anna just gets out of the way of this giant prod trying to infect her and jab her in the tit. Now I don't know if that's its penis. You know what? It's probably its penis. You know, it's the fungus penis. They begin to ascend, but they find the Major. Remember the Major that got infected? I believe it's the Major. Now he's melted into the floor by the mold. It's just his face and his almost all mold. He begs Anna not to go to the surface, It'd be the death of all human life, you know? It's a great exchange between the two. It's ooey and it's gooey. They got the pulsating underneath. Little detail, spores coming out as it's coughing. Prosthetic works amazing, right? Dude, they did good. Bit of a romance there between the two of them. Now, Nikolai, the guy who's still alive with her, wants to escape, doesn't want to die down there. He's kind of selfish, right? Not thinking of the repercussions of what could happen if they do make it to the surface. He was a good character, but he kind of became a dick, only thinks of himself, and I get it, he doesn't want to die, but he has to think of the bigger picture. Self-sacrifice. So they get into a fight, they fight over the controls of the elevator, back and forth. Nikolai gets the upper hand on her, starts to choke her to death. And the Major kind of like rips his arm in half and stabs him right in the throat, killing him, saving Anna. Gnarly. But Anna is now infected. She can see it in her body, the glowing red in her hands. So when she finds out, she's infected. I did not see this part coming. Usually with a lot of movies like this, you know what the payoff is gonna be. You know, like, oh, she's gonna escape, she's a heroine, boom, movie done, she's fine. They're fine, whatever. This movie though, is like, all that. She's infected, she's fucked. And I kinda like it. And I like those kind of endings because they're not predictable. Like, fuck it, you're infected, kiss him. Just when you think she's out of the woods, she's infected. Just like that, you know? So she goes to enter the code to the elevator 3 times to drop it, right? She's like, you know what? I'm infected. We can't let this spread. Had a nice moment with him, and we're gonna die together. She enters the code twice. She goes to enter a 3rd time. Elevator gets to the top. The door opens, and men in hazmat suits try and drag her off the elevator. But she's able to plunge the elevator, destroying the shaft, but not with her inside of it. She's taken to the surface. She steals her grenade from one of the soldiers. Kind of like at the start of the film where that scientist came out with a grenade and killed himself, right? Now she's holding this grenade and they're telling her to drop the grenade, don't do it, we can help you. And the movie ends with her holding the grenade, a guy coming from behind her with a needle, and all you hear is a grenade pin being pulled, and then the movie ends. Cuts to black, leaving it open for possibly a second one. But the question is, well, did they capture her or did the grenade go off and did she die? So when you check out the reviews for this movie, there's a lot of 1-star reviews, calling this movie boring, calling it shallow. You know, these film critics, right? They haven't had their balls dusted in a long while. Personally, I love this movie. This movie is great. If you're a fan of horror, body horror, practical effects, definitely check this out. It's really good. It's kind of a hidden gem. Russian cinema has been putting out some pretty good movies, actually, over the last couple of years. They're elevating their game, and I love it. I'd say it's probably one of my new favorite creature films, and I'd say check it out. It's on Shudder. Fantastic movie. So if you guys enjoyed that, be sure to follow. We're live on Twitch every Tuesday and Friday, diving into horror movies, YouTube shorts, and the paranormal, as well as check us out on YouTube and TikTok. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that.